A young girl walks towards a well carrying a hurricane lamp and a doll in her hand. In the middle of the night, she senses a strange presence nearby. She tosses the doll into the well, returns home, and finds the doll sitting exactly where it was before. The doll's name is Annabelle. It isn't just an ordinary door. It's said to be the dwelling place of a dark evil. But today, we will travel back in time to discover where Annabelle came from and uncover the terrifying history behind this cursed doll. Also, if you haven't watched the explanation of the previous 3 movies in the Conjuring universe, you can comment. The next coming videos will be created on those parts. With that said, let's begin today's movie, Annabelle Creation. The story takes us back to 1955. Samuel Mullins is a skilled doll maker, and his doll company carries his own name. One day while working in his workshop, he notices a note slipped under the door. It reads, "Find." As he leaves the workshop and heads towards the house, he discovers another note waiting for him. Are living with a joyful life together. However, that happiness doesn't last for long. The following day, the family is driving home from church when their car suddenly gets a flat tire. As Samuel begins changing the tire, a screw drops in onto the road. Annabelle runs to pick it up, but in a tragic moment, an approaching car strikes her. Annabelle dies instantly at the scene. Well, long years pass after that tragic incident. A van carrying several orphan children and a nun makes its way towards the Mullins house. During the journey, Father Massey tells the nun that they probably won't see Samuel Mullins very often after arrive. He explains that ever since the accident 12 years earlier, Samuel has rarely stepped outside and mostly keeps himself confined within the house. After the long trip, they finally reach their destination, and Samuel greets the nun and the children with kindness. Since the house had remained empty for years, he had agreed to provide shelter for the orphanage. He says that he hadn't heard the joyful laughter of children echoed through the house in a very long time, and he considered helping them a good and meaningful deed. Among the orphan children is a young girl named Janice. She suffers from a severely injured leg, forcing her to walk with difficulty and rely on a brace for support. As Samuel is about to ask Sister Charlotte about Janice, Charlotte quickly reassures him, saying, "Don't worry, she won't cause any problem. I'll take care of her." Samuel then gives everyone a tour of the house, and the children are immediately impressed by its size and beauty. He explains that all of them will be staying on the upper floor. However, because of Janice's injured leg, Charlotte asks if she and Janice could stay downstairs instead. Samuel agrees and shows them a special automatic tier lift he built years ago for his wife, Easter. As Janice rides the chair, she briefly gets the unsettling feeling that someone is standing right behind her. She quickly turns around, but there's nobody there. There are 6 girls all together: Janice, Linda, Carl, Nancy, Kate, and Tierney. Carl and Nancy have already picked a room for themselves when Janice and Linda try to join them. The girls refuse and tell them there are plenty of other rooms available in the house. Although they never say it openly, some of the girls secretly view Janice as a burden because of her leg condition. While searching for a room, Janice comes across a mysterious door. In one corner is a letter B, Animal's childhood nickname. Curious, she reaches for the door, but before she can enter, Samuel suddenly appears. In a stern voice, he tells her that she is free to go anywhere in the house, but under no circumstances is she allowed to enter into that room. Linda calls her out to her, and Janice leaves the room. Linda has already found a bedroom where the 2 of them can stay together. Meanwhile, Sister Charlotte is busy unpacking her belongings. Suddenly, a strong gust seems to flip through the pages of a book, even though the window is shut, and something catches her attention. At first, it appears to be an ordinary bookshelf, but when she takes a closer look, she realizes it's actually a hidden lift. This fully operated elevator system was once common in wealthy homes during the 19th century and was used to transport furniture and heavy items to the basement. Charlotte has never seen anything like it before. She closes the elevator door, but moments later, it slowly opens on its own. Just then, Nancy approaches and asks permission to go outside and play. Charlotte agrees. The children rush to outside. Janice, however, is unable to join them because of her injured leg. She remains by the window, watching the others from inside. A moment later, she once again feels as if someone is standing behind her. Then she notices the strange letters and the doll. That evening, everyone gathers around the dinner table. Samuel quietly says grace before getting up and leaving the table without eating. She heads upstairs to be with his wife. Curious, Caller peeks into Easter's room and catches a brief glimpse of her. Something about her appears feels unsettling. A sense of unease creeps into Caller's mind. To make matters worse, the light in the rooms keep flickering. Later that night, Linda finishes her peers and falls asleep. Janice, however, struggles to rest. She is still adjusting to the unfamiliar house. Suddenly, she hears the sound of footsteps somewhere in the darkness. A note slides beneath her door. Written on it are the words, "Find me." Following the trail of clues, Janice quietly leaves her room and eventually finds herself standing in front of Annabelle's forbidden room. Therefore, she discovers another note waiting for her. At first, Janice assumes the Nancy and the Carol are simply playing a prank, quietly apologizing to Samuel. In her mind, she decides to enter the forbidden room anywhere. Inside, she finds many of the animals' old toys carefully arranged around the room. One object immediately catches her attention, a dollhouse that looks exactly like a Mulin's home. As she studies it, she notices a doll resembling animal standing in front of a particular door inside the miniature house. Near that tiny door, Janice finds a key. After examining it more closely, she realizes the key matches a locked door in the room itself. Curious, she inserts the key and unlocks it. Behind the door sits a doll resting in a chair. The room is covered from wall to wall with pages torn from the Bible. The sight feels strange and unsettling. Janice quickly shuts the door and turns away to continue exploring. Moments later, she senses something behind her. The door has somehow opened again. She turns around and sees the doll staring in her direction. Frightened, she immediately throws a cloth over it and rushes towards the exit. But before she can leave, she notices Samuel outside the room. He has seen her and is walking straight toward her. Then something impossible happens. The doll, still covered with a white cloth, suddenly appears directly in front of her. A second later, it vanishes without a trace. Terrified, Janice runs all the way back to her room. The next day, the children are playing near an old well outside the house. During their game, Carol says, "I heard Samuel keeps his wife down in that well. She is not even human anymore. She looks like some kind of wooden doll." Ever since catching a glimpse of Easter, Carol has felt as something isn't right. Rumors about the Melians family had already spread, and she suspects there is a dark secret connecting Samuel and his wife. Linda doesn't believe a word of it. Trying to prove her courage, Carol tells Linda to go hide while the others search for her. Later that day, Janice apologizes to sister Charlotte for her behavior and for wandering where she wasn't supposed to go. Despite Samuel's clear warning, Janice enters the forbidden room the previous night. Because of that, she receives a punishment. She wants to tell Sister Charlotte about the terrifying supernatural experience she had, but before she can explain everything, Linda walks into the room and interrupts the conversation. Later, as Linda heads upstairs, she notices what appears to be a hidden room across from the staircase. Since the girls often play hide and seek and Carol had told her to find a hiding spot, Linda thinks it would be the perfect place. Curious, she locates the door and quietly slips inside. Meanwhile, Carol, Nancy, Kate, and Tarani discover a garage beside the house. They decide to explore it and look around. While wandering through the area, they spot a strange scarecrow standing in front of them. Carol jokingly tries to frighten the others, and although everyone laughs, they still feel uneasy. Nancy, however, can't shake the feeling that the scarecrow is somehow watching her. At nearly the same time, Linda explores the hidden room beneath the staircase. In the darkness, she notices a doll sitting quietly in the corner, staring directly at her. The sight terrifies her. Her scream brings the other running into the room. When Sister Charlotte informs Samuel about what happened, Samuel immediately seals the hidden door shut. He's clearly upset. The children had already been warned not to wander into the restricted areas, yet they continue getting into trouble. He holds back his anger and says very little. A short while later, Samuel notices a group photograph that belongs to Sister Charlotte. Curious, he asks about it. Charlotte explains that the picture was taken at the convent in Rome, a place where a community of nuns lives almost completely cut off from the outside world, dedicating their lives to prayers and service. After a great deal of effort, Charlotte was only able to speak with 3 of the nuns there: Sister Maria, Sister Anna, and Sister Lucia. As Samuel studies the photograph, he notices a dark figure standing in the shadows of the image. Pointing toward it, he asks, "Who is this?" Charlotte looks closely and replies, "I don't know. I've never seen her before." That night, Carl and Nancy lie beneath their blankets, telling ghost stories. Most of their conversation revolves around Easter Mullins. They call her a witch, make up frightened stories about her. Suddenly, a bell rings somewhere in the room. Their attention instantly shifts away from the stories. Their atmosphere changes, an unnatural chill fills the air, and both girls feel as if someone else is present. The ringing begins moving closer. Then their flashlight suddenly dies. Terrified, the girl screams, walking everywhere, everyone in the house. Sister Charlie's and Samuel rush into the room to find out what happened. The girls repeatedly insist that they saw Easter standing there. Samuel becomes frustrated. "Will you stop?" he says. "How could my wife be here? She hasn't been able to walk for years. What kind of nonsense is this?" Just then Easter's bell rings again from upstairs, and Samuel immediately leaves to attend to her. Although nobody believes their story, Carol and Nancy remain deeply unsettled. Janice, however, senses that something strange is happening in the house. The following day, Samuel leaves for the city to take care of some errands. While he's away, Ishtar rings her bell. After receiving permission, Sister Charlotte enters Ishtar's rooms for the first time. Ishtar fartily asks for a glass of water so she can take her medicine. Janice secretly peeks into the room and catches a glimpse of Sister Charlotte removing Ishtar's mask, because a curtain partially blocks the view. She can't clearly see Eustace's face. In fact, even Charlotte never gets a proper look at her. While inside the room, Charlotte notices a photograph of Annabelle and asks Easter about it. Easter then tells her the tragic story of the accident that took her daughter's life. Janice overhears enough to learn the truth. Before leaving, she quietly takes Annabelle's photograph from the wall and brings it back to her room. Later, she notices something strange. In the darkness, Annabelle's eyes in the picture seem to glow. Suddenly, music begins playing on its own from an old record player inside Animal Rooms. Curious, Janice walks towards the sound. Before she can investigate further, Linda finds her and asks, "Why are you in this room so late?" Janice explains that the music started by itself and tells Linda that Mr. Mullins once had a daughter and that everything in the room belonged to her. While fooling around, Linda accidentally points a toy gun at the doll and pretends to shoot it. For a brief moment, the doll appears to stare directly back at her. Linda freezes. A sense of fear washes over her. Realizing something feels terribly wrong, she quickly says, "I'm not staying there. I'm going to my room." After Linda leaves, Janice begins reading Annabelle's diary lying on the nearby table. Without warning, the door suddenly slams shut. The wooden dolls around the room start moving on their own. The dollhouse lights up by itself. The Janice feels the presence of someone standing in front of her. She slowly looks up and sees what appears to be animals outside the window. "Are you Mr. Mullins' daughter?" Janice asks. "What happened to you? Do you need my help? What do you want?" A chilling voice replies, "Your soul." Terrified, Janice turns and runs, but before she can speak, something grabs her from behind. She struggles desperately and manages to break free. Pushing toward the old lift, she tries to reach Sister Charlotte. However, instead of taking her where she wants to go, the lift begins moving on its own. It rises higher and higher. Then an unseen force suddenly throws her violently through the air. Janice crashes to the ground and loses consciousness. The most frightening part is that all of this happened while the rest of the house remains completely unaware. No one hears her screams and no one realizes what has happened. The following day, Samuel's Sister Charlotte takes Janice to a doctor. After examining her, the doctor delivers heartbreaking news. Janice may never walk properly again. With exceptional care and treatment, she might regain some limited movement, but her condition has become much worse. Later that day, Janice speaks privately with Charlotte. "I can't stay in the house anymore," she says. "I want to leave." Charlotte asks her why. Janice replied, "Last night I didn't fall down the stairs by accident. Something pushed me. You once told us that we cannot see God with our own eyes, but we can feel his presence." She pauses before continuing. "But in this house, I feel the exact opposite. There's something evil here. It wants my soul. It wants me to give myself to it." Charles struggles to find the right answer. Although she cannot fully explain what happened, she offers Janice words of faith, encouraging her to stay strong. Meanwhile, Samuel is overwhelmed with guilt. He blames himself for what happened to Janice. Speaking to Ishtar, he admits that by inviting the girls into the house, he may have exposed them to even greater danger. Ishtar sees things differently. She reminds him that if they send the girls away, they will have nowhere else to go. She says that hearing the children laugh and talk throughout the house has brought her life back into a place that had been silent for years. As her health continues to decline, she wants to spend her remaining days listening to those joyful voices. That night, Charlotte decides that Janice should sleep in her room for safety and comfort. As a result, Linda is left to spend the night alone. After speaking with Charlotte, Linda heads upstairs towards her room. As she passes Annabelle's room, she hears the unmistakable sound of rocking chair moving back and forth. Curious, she peeks through the doorway and sees the doll sitting in the chair gently rocking on her own. A chill runs down her spine. Gathering her courage, she slowly pushes the door open, but the moment she steps inside, the chair is empty. Frightened, Lita hurries back to her room. She stays awake, playing with her toy gun. Then she notices something strange. A ball in her room appears to be held by an unseen hand. Her fear grows instantly. She pulls the blanket over herself and hides completely beneath it. From under the cover, she notices the shadowy footprints of something moving across the room. Slowly, she peeks towards Annabelle's room. There she sees a dark hand reaching out and carrying away the door. Terrifying beyond words, Linda somehow manages to survive the night. The following day Samuel is once again away in the city. Charlotte leaves Janice resting beneath a tree and goes inside to assist her. Suddenly in the middle of the afternoon Janice feels her wheelchair being pushed. She looks around. No one is there. A moment later woman who appears to be Toilet suddenly grabs the chair and pushes it toward the garage. Before Janice can react she is thrown from the chair and the garage door slams shut behind her. Janice crawls away and hides in a corner. Then she comes face to face with the animal's doll. Something dark seems to take hold of her. When Sister Charlotte later arrives after hearing Janice scream, she finds something shocking. Venus appears completely normal. She looks healthy, calm, and unharmed. That night Linda discusses everything with the other dolls. I'm really worried about her, she says. The same girl who wanted to leave this house a few days ago now says she never wants to go anywhere. Linda shares all the strange things Janice had previously told her. Nancy listens carefully, becoming more concerned with every detail. Carol, however, remains unconvinced. After hearing the story, she shakes her head and says nothing happened to Janice, she only looking for attention and sympathy from the rest of us. When Linda tries to explain the situation calmly, Carol becomes irritated. Refusing to listen, she scolds Linda and sends her back to her room. The next day Linda waits outside the house for Samuel to return. As soon as he arrives, approaches him and says Agnes has been behaving very strangely over the past few days. She also tells him that something even more disturbing. Janice says she can see your daughter. Samuel immediately responds, how could that be possible? My daughter died many years ago. Belinda continues, there's something else. Even though you told her not to, Janice went into Annabelle's room. She said she saw a doll dressed in a white. The moment Samuel hears this, his expression changes. Anger and fear flash across his face. That's impossible, he says. I hide the key to that room. No one was supposed to enter it. A terrible realization suddenly strikes him. Janice has realized whatever was trapped inside. Without wasting another second, Samuel rushes into the house. Inside he hears Janice softly humming a tune. Following the sound, he enters the room and sees the cursed doll sitting quietly on a chair. In front of it lies a note. The message reads, found him. At that moment, Janice slowly steps out from behind him. Samuel turns towards her and says, I warn you, never enter that room. But something is terribly wrong. Janice rises from the chair, her movements unnatural and disturbing. Realizing he is facing something evil, Samuel quickly raises a holy cross in an attempt to protect himself. For a brief moment, he tries to resist, but it isn't enough. Dark entity overwhelms. Later, Samuel's body is discovered in a horrifying condition. Every bone appears shattered, his eyes rolled back. After discovering Samuel's death, Sister Charlotte immediately contacts the police. Once the investigation is completed and the officers leave, she sends all the girls back to their rooms before going to check on Easter. But Linda can't stop thinking about Janice. She notices Janice sitting quietly with the doll. Later that night, after Janice falls asleep, Linda secretly takes the dog and slips outside carrying a hurricane lamp. Charlotte notices her leaving and quietly follows. As Linda walks toward the old well, she begins to feel as if someone is following her through the darkness. Her hands tremble and every step becomes heavier with fear. The night is completely silent. The well stands a short distance away. Reaching it, Linda removes the cover and prepares to throw the doll inside. Just then Charles arrives and calls out, what are you doing out here so late? Linda turns and says, this all is frightening, Janice. I think it's this. He is responsible for everything that happened, including Mr. Muellen's death. I want to end this once and all for all. With that, she throws the doll into the well. Charlotte tells her they should return to the house immediately. But as they begin walking away, a strange sound echoes from behind them. Neither turns towards the well. Suddenly, an unseen face lunges from inside and tries to drag her in. Charlie screams instantly and manages to pull her back just in time. Together, they force the cover shut. Almost immediately, violent banging and scratching noises erupt from inside the well, as though something trapped below is desperately trying to escape. Charlotte is horrified by what she has just witnessed. Without wasting another second, she grabs Lena and rushes back to the house. Once inside, Linda calls out, Janice, where are you? He got rid of the dog. But when she reaches Janet's bed, she freezes in terror. The doll is lying there where Janet should be. The same doll they had thrown to the well. Realizing that something is terribly wrong, Charlotte orders all the girls to spread out and Sir Charlotte picks up the doll and takes it straight at the Easter room. The moment Eustace sees it, fear fills her face. That's all? Keep it away from me, she says nervously. Claret immediately asks if she knows anything about it. In a trembling voice, Easter finally released the truth. It's curse, she sees. Then after a pause she adds, no, it's worse than that. It's connected to the devil himself. This is where the nightmare of the animals truly began. Easter explained that after their daughter died, she and Samuel were overwhelmed by grief. They prayed to see Annabelle's again. They prayed to any power that would listen. They begged for one more chance to communicate with their daughter and promised anything in return. At first, strange but harmless signs began appearing. Annabelle's favorite song would suddenly start playing on the old record player in her room. Objects moved on their own. Small things happened that convinced them their water was still nearby. They believed Annabelle's had returned. Then one day, the presence asked for permission to inhabit a doll so it could remain with them forever. Animal's favorite doll began rocking gently in a chair. Thinking it was their daughter, they agreed. That single decision changed everything. The entity became stronger. Sometimes they could catch brief glimpses of it, but it always remained just out of reach. Soon, however, they realized a terrible truth. It was never enabled. One day, Easter saw its real appearance reflected in a mirror. It wasn't a child, it was a demon. Wanting proof, Easter brought a holy cross near it. The reaction was immediate. The creature twisted violently. Its limbs bent unnaturally. His body expanded into monstrous shape, and his rage became uncontrollable. During the attack, Easter's eyes were severely damaged. The demon wanted her soul, but Samuel refused to let that happen. He sought help from the church, and a priest was brought to bless and cleanse the entire house. Weaken the evil presence couldn't destroy it completely, because Samuel and Easter had willingly given it permission. The demon had already attached itself to the doll. The doll became its permanent vessel. To contain it, the priest locked the curse scroll inside a secret room connected to Annabelle's bedroom. The walls were covered with a scripture and holy writings so the entity could never escape. For many years the plan worked. The house remained peaceful. Hoping to make amends for their mistakes and seek forgiveness before God, Samuel and Easter later opened their home to the orphanage children. They believed the darkness had finally been contained. But now, looking at the doll once again, Aisha realizes the truth. The greatest fear has become true. The seal has been broken. The demon is free once again. The girls eventually find Janice inside Annabelle's room. What shocks them the most is that she is standing on her own. Considering the condition of her leg, that should have been impossible, but something is fairly long. Janice is holding a knife. Panic erupts instantly. The girls scream and run to find Sister Charlotte. Realizing the danger they are in, Charlotte orders the children to get away as possible while she goes after Janice herself. Meanwhile, the girls rush into Easter's room to use the telephone and call the police. Instead, they are met with a horrifying sight. Easter has been brutally killed. Her body hangs lifelessly in the room, and the violence of the attack leaves the girls frozen with the terror. At the same time, Charlotte prepares to leave the house with Linda and Kay. Just as they are about to escape, Janice appears before them once again. Charlotte immediately begins reciting Bible verses and prayers, hoping to stop whatever has possessed her. But this time nothing happens. The words have no effect. Instead, Janice raises her hand, and Charlotte is suddenly lifted into the air by an unseen force. As Charlotte struggles helplessly, Linda and Kate turn and run in fear. But before Linda can get away, something grabs her from behind and drags her back. Elsewhere, Carol and Nancy and Shirley attempt to flee using the family car. As they reach the vehicle, they notice a scarecrow standing nearby. Its face is pointing directly toward them. They stare for only a moment, then it disappears. The girls rush into the car and desperately try to start the engine. Nothing happens. The vehicle refuses to start. Just then, Kate arrives. The four frightened girls decide to regroup hoping to find another way out because evil presence reaches them. Carol is first to enter the garage, but the moment she steps inside, the door suddenly slams shut behind her. The girls scream for help, but no one can hear them. Those outside desperately try to open the door, but it refuses to budge. Carol slowly turns around, standing in the darkness in the scarecrow. Fear instantly takes hold of her. Nearby, she spots what appears to be an axe and rushes toward it, hoping to use it for protection, but when she grabs it, only the wooden handle comes loose in her hands. The lights overhead begin flickering violently, then something horrifying happens. A dark, gloved hand slowly emerges from inside the scarecrows. Moment later, the light bulb explodes. The garages plunge into darkness. As another light flickers back to life, Carol catches a glimpse of the terrifying creature standing before her. The demon begins moving toward her. Terrified, Carol runs and manages to squeeze into a small storage room. She slams the door shut and locks it from the inside. For a moment she thinks she is safe, then suddenly a hand grabs her arm. She screams in panic, but when she turns around she realizes it's a Nancy. Together they find a way out through a nearby window and escape. Meanwhile, Linda is running for her life through the house. She locks herself inside the room and desperately searches for a place to hide. Outside, Janice relentlessly pounds on the door. Each impact makes Linda jump. She considers escaping through the window, but the drop is too dangerous. Then she notices something else hidden nearby. The old manual lift leading to the basement. With no other option, she climbs inside and lowers herself down. The darkness below feels endless. Every creak and shadow makes her heart race. As she reaches the basement floor, her pulse is pounding in her ears, and she realizes she may have trapped herself in an even more dangerous place. Linda switches on her flashlight and carefully looks around the basement. As the beam moves across the wall, she notices blood smeared everywhere. Then she spots what appears to be a dead body lying motionless on the floor. Her heart nearly stops. Suddenly, the body begins to move and slowly rises to its feet. Linda rushes back toward the lift and climbs inside, but her nightmare is far from over. The lift becomes stuck halfway between the floors. Above her is a ceiling. Below her is an approaching figure. Trapped in the middle, Linda realizes she is a terrifying situation. Then she looks down more carefully. To her horror, she discovers that the figure isn't Eastern body at all. It's the demon controlling Janus. Somehow, Nita manages to free the left and make it back to the upper floor. Shaken and terrified, she tries to escape, but Janus seems to be everywhere she goes. Finding for safety, Linda runs into Annabelle's room and hides inside the secret chamber where the doll had once been kept. The room feels unnaturally cold. She can't shake the feeling that the doll is staring directly at her. Trying to calm himself, she reaches out and attempts to turn the doll's head away. At the exact moment, Janus suddenly attacks her. Before the situation can become even worse, Charlotte arrives, carrying the doll. As Janus lunges forward with a knife, the attack strikes the doll instead. Quickly places a holy cross necklace around the Janus' neck. Together they force her into the room with the doll and lock the door behind her. The bolts slide into the place. For a brief moment, everything becomes silent. No footstep, no noises, no movement. Then the house awakens. The lights begin flickering throughout the room. The old record player starts playing by itself once again. Objects move on their own, and then the supernatural assault begins. Realizing they can no longer stay inside, everyone runs from the house in fear. But just as they reach safety, every light in the house explodes as once. Glass shatters everywhere. A loud roar echoes through the darkness, making it clear that whatever was trapped inside is far from defeated. A short while later, the police arrive at the house. When they search the room, they find the door still lying there, but Janus is nowhere to be found. The following day, Aprius visits the house and performs a complete blessing and purification ritual. Afterward, he tells everyone that the house is safe again. He also explains something important. According to him, the demon is no longer attached to the house because it has already achieved what it wanted. The priest says that if anyone wishes to keep the doll, they are free to do so. No one accepts. As a result, the doll is handed over to the priest. Although the house is now considered safe, the survivors choose not to remain there. Instead, they leave and head toward an uncertain future. But one mystery still remains. What happened to James? The answer comes sometimes later. Janus willingly arrives at an orphanage where a couple named Pete and Sharon Higgins visit in hopes of adopting a child. When they ask for her name, she gives a surprising answer. "My name is Annabelle." From that day forward, Janus begins living under the name Annabelle Higgins. Years pass. Then one day, Annabelle's formerly Janus and her boyfriend brutally murder her adopted parents. And from there, the events connected directly to the story of Annabelle 2014. You probably already know what happened next. If not, be sure to comment of Annabelle's 2014 movie, Rika. We will surely bring it for you. If you enjoyed this movie, don't forget to leave a like or a share your thoughts in the comments. Let me know which movie from the horror suspense you'd like to see next. And if you are new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you can never miss a new upload. You are watching TimeShift Stars, where dark mysteries, haunted legends, and supernatural stories come to life. And remember, don't forget to subscribe before the lights go out.